things considered, it was a solid debut season for Bill O'Brien at Boston College. The Eagles started 4-1, including a win at Florida State, but faltered down the stretch, going 3-5, including a bowl loss to Nebraska to finish the year at 7-6. So a winning season, not much to frown about there, but the Eagles once again failed to hit that 8-win mark. Failed to hit that 8-win mark, something they have not done since 2008. And I hate to say it, but that streak will continue this year. The Eagles could be in for a world of hurt, but before we get into that, let's take a look at what happened last year. We mentioned 7-6, 4-1 start, the only loss on the road to Missouri, when the Eagles were actually ranked, by the way. They had 3 one-possession losses, one of them coming to Missouri, losing by 6. They were up early, blew the lead, fell by less than a touchdown. Louisville, they lost to by 4, and they lost to Nebraska by 5 in a very sloppy bowl game. So again, 7-6 for Bill O'Brien. I think he's a phenomenal head coach. I think he can do very well here. But unfortunately, this feels like a year where the Eagles take a bit of a step back. And we'll tell you why. Offensively, they weren't bad last year. 28.2 points per game, 166 rushing yards per game, only 199 passing yards per game. So the passing game has to improve. Thomas Castellanos, who's now the quarterback at Florida State, was here at Boston College last year, but ended up getting benched. He just was inconsistent, didn't take that great care of the football. Just had some issues last year. We know that. That's a concern with Florida State. It's, can he take better care of the football and better decisions? So they end up going to Grayson James, who threw for over 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. He does return this year for Boston College. Could battle for that starting job. But a lot of people, including myself, believe the job will go to Alabama transfer Dylan Lonergan, who has some decent mobility, has a dual threat capability. So good strong arm, a lot of upside, a lot of potential, finally maybe getting a shot to start at a power program. They do lose their top 2 rushers, Boston College does, but Jordan McDonald and Turbo Richard, what a name, seem to be ready to take the lead in the running back core. It should be just fine there. 3 of their top 4 pass catchers do return, led by Lewis Bond and Reed Harris. The offensive line loses their top 2 players, but they do have 2 returning starters. So I think the key for Boston College this year offensively is quarterback play, whoever that's going to be, whether it's Dylan Lonergan, how he pans out as the starter, or how Grayson James takes over. Wouldn't be surprised to see both these quarterbacks play quite a bit throughout the season. And then also their offensive line, how well they hold up with a handful of key new pieces, and again, only 2 starters coming back. That's the storyline I'm watching for on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, the Eagles do bring 6 starters back, a fairly underrated defense, I might add. 3 of the top 4 tacklers do return, led by KP Price, who had 85 tackles last year at safety. Their third highest tackler on the team, Carter Davis, also returns to the secondary and led the team with 3 interceptions. So this is a secondary for Boston College that brings back everybody. The entire secondary returns. That's Davis, as we mentioned. That's KP Price. That's Omar Thornton. That's Amari Jackson. That's Max Tucker. They bring back everybody. And this secondary arguably could be the strength of the defense. They gave up 246 passing yards per game, but with so much experience coming back, I would expect that number to drop quite a bit. So this could be a very underrated passing defense in the conference this year. The defensive line looks to be okay. Quintavious Hutchins is back, 3.5 sacks last year. Owen Stoudemeyer had 2.5 sacks last year. But the loss of Donovan Eziruaku, who had 16.5 sacks last year, that looms large up front. When you lose your biggest playmaker that has 16.5 sacks, which is ridiculous, that's a huge hole to fill, not one they can just replace immediately. Davion Crouch does return, and the linebacking core leads the way there. But I would say if you're looking for a weakness on defense, it is this front 7 period. Secondary looks to be okay, should improve, but how much of a pass rush can they generate? How well can they be at stopping the run? What can that front 7 do this season for the Eagles? That's what we're looking out for. So it's one of these teams in Boston College that you look at it, it's like they've got potential. There's a chance they could do something special, or a chance they could compete. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, you could say they've got a lot of inexperience, a lot of youth, and this could be a year they take a step back. You take a look at the schedule, it is rather difficult. A road game at Michigan State in the non-conference. They play Notre Dame in the non-conference, and they draw some of the top teams in the conference in the ACC. They got to play Clemson. They got to go on the road to Louisville. They got to play SMU. They got to play Georgia Tech. Thankfully, the majority of those are at home, which is why this is an intriguing year for BC, because if they can exceed expectations, if they can win some of these games at home, they could be a massive surprise team. But let's go ahead and get into it. They'll beat Fordham. They're 1-0. And I think they lose to Michigan State on the road to be 1-1. This Michigan State team is one they beat 23-19 last year in the final moments, and really a game they were fortunate to win. They were fortunate to beat Michigan State, I felt like. They were actually outgained, Boston College was. They were outgained by 76 yards. Now they have to go on the road to East Lansing early in the year against a improving Michigan State team, one that arguably has more experience than this Boston College team. Michigan State team that probably should have won this game on the road last year and fell just short by, 4 points? I like Aiden Childs to be improved. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a deal breaker, but I think he's going to be improved. The defense last year, despite the poor record for Michigan State, was severely underrated. Whoever is at quarterback for the Eagles, whether it's Lonergan, who we expect, or Grayson James, not an easy environment to go into this early on. Michigan State gets the win. The Eagles are 1-1, but they will beat Stanford. Back-to-back road games. Long road trip to take on the Cardinal. They'll beat them, though, as the Cardinal will have one of the worst teams, not just in the ACC, but I think in the entire country. So they are 2-1 coming out of their bye week. They play the other California school in the ACC, because that makes sense. California coming all the way to BC, and they'll beat the Golden Bears, who I don't have a lot of faith in this year either. I think this is the last year for Justin Wilcox. This is a team that's being completely gutted. They've got a new quarterback and a completely new core of running backs, and all of their top receivers were gone. The majority of their defense was gone. Yes, they landed some decent transfers, but how quickly will they come together? Can they come together in the span of 3, 4, 5 weeks? I just don't think so. I think it's going to be a rough year for California. It'll be a low-scoring game. I think it'll be a sloppy game, but BC's going to get that win. And just like that, they're 3-1. So what a solid start. And that Michigan State game, I should add, is winnable. It's not like I think Michigan State's going to demolish them. So, going into the month of October, I think anything less than 3-1 is a massive disappointment. There's the chance that BC could be 4-0, and everybody's kind of resting easy and maybe starting to get those dreams again of finally getting 8 wins for the first time since 2008. But then the schedule gets really tough. They're going to lose their next 2 on the road at Pittsburgh and at home against Clemson. I don't see them competing very well in either of these. Now, I know they beat Pittsburgh last year. I understand that. They beat them 34-23. But Pittsburgh was in a world of hurt. Eli Holstein could not stay healthy to save his life. The Panthers started 7-0, lost their final 6 games. They were in the midst of a 4-game losing streak when they took on Boston College last year. It was senior day, I believe, for the Eagles in that one. They were Pittsburgh obviously very banged up. So now they're going on the road to Pittsburgh against a healthier team. In theory, Eli Holstein should be better. Desmond Reed returns. They've got a really dangerous front 7, and that does concern me too. If this Boston College offensive line isn't up to par, then that Pittsburgh defensive line, that Pittsburgh linebacking core, which is one of the best in the nation, is going to create a lot of issues for them. So I don't think they have enough to beat them, and I certainly don't believe they have enough to beat Clemson, who to me is the best team in the ACC and is a true national title contender. I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. So 3-3, halfway through the season. Bowl hope's still very much alive. They remain alive even longer because they're going to beat UConn. It'll be close. That's not a game you can just chalk up as an immediate win because the Huskies were good last year, won 9 games, could be even better this year. 2 years ago, UConn came here and only lost by 7, 21-14. So I think it's a close game. But I think Boston College has just enough to get the win. They are 4-3 heading in to the final stretch of the season, the home stretch. 5 more games. They need to win 2 of 5 to go bowling, and I think that'd be considered a successful season, considering the question marks they have and considering the schedule they have. But look at the final 5 games. The front part of the schedule isn't easy by any means, but the back part is even worse. Louisville, Notre Dame, SMU, Georgia Tech in 4 consecutive games. So you have 2 teams that made the college football playoff last year, and you get them both at home, which is great, but 2 teams that made the playoff. A Louisville team that's loaded, lost every game by 1 possession last year, is arguably better than they were last year. Got to go on the road. They play very well at home. And then Georgia Tech, who is, to me, a playoff dark horse out of the ACC. And if you want to go all the way down to Syracuse, you can. A Syracuse team that loses a lot, but now you have to go on the road to the Carrier Dome for that one. I hate to say it, but I have Boston College losing out. I have them losing their final 5 games to finish 4-8. This Louisville team is just simply too good. Miller Moss and Isaac Brown and Duke Watson and a really good wide receiver core and a defense that returns 8 starters and a home field advantage that they're 10-3 with under Jeff Brom. And Louisville's just that good of a team, guys. Don't really see them competing much there. Even though they only lost to them by 4 last year, really held their own against the Cardinals last year. Don't see it happening now on the road. Certainly don't see them beating Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish coming off a bye, loaded at every single position. Finally have some good wide receivers, have a Heisman candidate at running back. BC might try to hold their own, but not going to be enough. Then they host SMU in the red bandana game, so they will be hyped for this one. Going all out and trying to beat the Mustangs, who was great in their first year in the ACC. But I look at this game, even though Boston College, again, held their own. Last year they lost to SMU by 10, but they had it within 3 with 5:52 left. It was a 31-28 game with under 6 minutes remaining. And SMU ended up winning 38-28. So Boston College really played well. They allowed 438 yards, but had a great offensive showing of their own. I just don't think they're going to have enough to beat them now. Even though they got home field advantage, even though it's the red bandana game, Kevin Jennings is the real deal at quarterback. I don't have a lot of faith in this Boston College front seven, especially the defensive line, to create pressure on him. And if you do, we know he can be mobile and escape with his legs. I think SMU is kind of one of those games where I think they own the edge in every aspect, with the exception of home field advantage. The red bandana game adds a little extra motivation. I think Boston College keeps it fairly close, but SMU will pull away. So they lose that game. I think they lose senior day against Georgia Tech. I am concerned about Boston College's ability to slow down the Georgia Tech run game because they have a mobile quarterback in Haynes King. They've got Jamal Haynes at running back, good wide receiver core, underrated defense with 7 starters back. I just don't like their odds against the Yellow Jackets, who I think is a really dang good team. And then on the road at Syracuse, who they did beat last year by 6, allowing 392 passing yards in that game. Kyle McCord is gone, so that's a plus for Boston College. Maybe gives them a little bit of a boost there. But I do think Steve Angeli is going to play well. Syracuse is another team that, kind of like Boston College, is just facing a brutal schedule in a year where we expect them to take a bit of a step back. But I think Fran Brown has his team ready to go at home on senior day. A defense that should improve as the year goes on. An underrated wide receiver core and an offense that won't match last year's stats, but will be okay. I think Syracuse is a little bit too much. Neither team may have much to play for, so I go with the team that has the extra motivation, which is home field advantage in senior day. BC going from 4-3 to 4-8, just like that. And a very disappointing year for the Eagles in year 2 under Bill O'Brien. But again, I don't see where the extra wins can come from. 4 wins, maybe they can beat Michigan State. Maybe you think they beat Syracuse or Georgia Tech. Both of those would have to come on the road, the Michigan State-Syracuse game, but they're winnable. Michigan State's winnable. Syracuse is winnable. Georgia Tech maybe could be winnable. I don't think Louisville, Notre Dame, SMU, Pittsburgh, or Clemson are up for much debate, in my opinion. So they're going to have to find a way. Boston College, if they want to get to a bowl game, if they want to get a winning season, they're going to have to find a way to pull off an upset, and they're probably going to have to find a way to do it on the road. That's going to be the kicker, because even the home games, which are great to host, are coming against some of the best teams, not just in the ACC, but in the entire country, like SMU, Notre Dame, and Clemson. So I think BC takes a bit of a step back, 4-8, but a good foundation year, especially if Dylan Lonergan plays well and shows potential. Next year could be when BC finally breaks through, gets back to the postseason, maybe, just maybe, finally finds a way to reach that 8-win mark. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Check out everything down in the description below. That includes our website, thegridironexpert.com, home to those expert picks, some of the best college football and NFL spread picks in the entire country. Also home to our weekly newsletters. Tons of jam-packed information there that you won't get anywhere else. It's free to sign up for over on thegridironexpert.com. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on The Gridiron Expert.
Yeah.